morning, everyone. I see we have participants coming in. Carly and I are very excited to have you all with us this morning. We've got about 17 people right now in the room. I guess we're just going to wait 2 more minutes or so until more people coming in. Let me just see. How are you today, Carly?
Feeling good, thank you.
Very good.
Exercising this morning.
You have a beautiful background over there.
Thank you.
All your design?
It is. I had an open house here last night, so the residents of my building could come up and see how I've designed the space and kind of identified each room. So it's open plan.
That's
so
amazing. I would have liked to be part of that.
To come up. So we spent the day yesterday beautifying. So it looks particularly nice today, and it was lovely to wake up to this morning. So much effort goes into that kind of showing off.
And I can see some tulip chairs there in the background.
Yeah, my favorite tulip chairs and table. Amazing. And this new rug, which is washable, which is really cool. So you take the top layer off and it's got cushioning underneath, but the top layer you can put in the machine. So then I got brave and went for a lighter color.
Amazing. What company is that? I know Perennials do some good.
Yeah, this one's
yes,
Ruggable, it's called.
Ruggable.
And they've collaborated with Jonathan Adler, this US designer,
yes,
who designs all sorts of hotels and his own furniture range and accessories. And so he did this. It actually looks quite Eames-like to me. There's a fabric that Eames did, one of the only fabrics that Eames designed. And so it kind of goes into this central spot where the tulip table sits quite nicely. And there's loads of sizes, not expensive. And yeah, the fact that it's ruggable, washable is super useful.
Amazing.
So actually one of the people that came last night, I recommended that rug to them too. Different style.
Okay, yeah, I will look into Ruggable. Yes, amazing. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Happy to have you all with us. We're just going to start now. I'm Anca from Designeers, and my guest today is Carly Madhvani. She's an interior designer in the high-end residential sector in London. And Carly has over 15 years experience doing interior design. And she mainly operates, I would say, or designs in the northern part of London, but I'm sure she moves around all around London. But as interior designers tend to focus, they sort of like focus on particular areas of cities, so just more localized. So welcome, Carly. I'm looking forward to chat with you this morning. We have received loads of questions from our audience, and hopefully we can have a very cool informal chat today.
Absolutely. Good morning. Lovely to be here, and I'm happy to help.
Amazing. I would like to start by asking you, how did you actually get into interior design? So just like if we roll back 15 years ago, did you have any formal training? Did you always like design? How did you fall into design?
Well, I would roll back 40 years. My father, who was a builder, who I would regularly go on site with at weekends he would just kind of pull me around like they do. And I enjoyed hearing about the architectural plans that he was looking at and how he collaborated with all the structural engineers. And so even though I didn't realize I liked it then, I was kind of exposed to it. And then as I went through to university and did an art degree, and then went into a furniture dealership, only initially in kind of reception, being a receptionist rather. I then went to a company of 10 people, but I realized that I appreciated the history of design and I then worked alongside architects within this furniture dealership. And then after some years, when I was younger, I always felt as though I didn't want to do what my parents did, but actually they're hugely influential. And understanding that 3D space from a young age, I think helped me have like a natural ability in it.
Yeah.
And I haven't ever had the qualification of a formal qualification in interior design. It's been much more experience-based and coming from a background of the experience from him, and then working for kind of 12 years in a furniture dealership where it was all about commercial property. And then I went into different areas within that small team and helped them with the projects and looked after kind of soft furnishings and reception areas and meeting rooms. And that's the skill that I then went on to get for my residential, my own company, which specializes in residential.
That's amazing, because I can really relate to that, as I've grown up with a mother who's an architect. So that's been hugely influential for me.
Yeah,
I
don't think so at the time, but then later.
Yeah, so I grew up with my mother actually building houses around my home city, and it's always kind of I always regard her as quite an easy thing to look at, and sort of like so I guess coming from that, it wasn't so scary for me. I ended up doing law because my parents wanted for me to do law and become a lawyer. So now in another chapter of my life, now perhaps my childhood is haunting me back. So so going back into sort of more of a design world, which I feel more comfortable in. So I think obviously I am not so young anymore, and I think we have some questions from the audience where some people are asking, what do you think about starting now, later on into your 40s, and going into design at this stage? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think that there's an advantage in that, because I think that you're trusted sooner, because I think it's an advantage, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that as we're older, you're instantly trusted more so than somebody young, I would say. Also, you've got more life experience, so that those kind of organizational skills are going to be more natural to you. I think being a designer, you have to be really multi-skilled, and having more life experience just gives you that ability to do that. So I think starting design later in life, and you've got more knowledge on suppliers and how to put things together, and more relationship experience, how to negotiate, how to become like forge relationships, how to communicate better. So I think that starting later is a great way to get into it.
And what do you think about having the actual formal qualifications versus not having it? Obviously, perhaps when you started 20 years ago, maybe it wasn't so important. Do you think it's becoming more important nowadays, or what's your view on that?
I'm not formally qualified. However, I am an associate of the British Interior Design Association.
Yes.
And British Institute of Interior Design, excuse me, and I'm an associate with that. So that does give me like some recognition, and I had to be interviewed for that. So I didn't sit for years and study it. However, becoming an associate like that I feel as though that kind of stamp of approval gives my clients knowledge that I'm at a standard. So although I don't think it's necessary now, I think that it would be advantageous to highlight to your clients that you've been tested in a way, and you can have a portfolio and you can have clients and reviews and testimonials, but having that extra stamp of approval, I think probably does help me. And when I've spoken to clients and got feedback about why they chose me, why I won a project, then they have said that initially gave them some confidence over and above. So the potential clients look at a variety of aspects of the business. One would be what work we've done, obviously, the style that we do, our reviews, our social media, and also to then have a qualification is a part of how they would trust me, I would say.
Yeah, so having that BIID badge, it's quite important.
This is a part of it. If I didn't have it, would they still go with me? Maybe, if they really loved my style. Maybe if they've read a review that really resonated with them. But it does definitely help with that. But that was an hour's interview. I still don't, because I'm from a background where I haven't been qualified, I've got to say that you don't need to be qualified to become an interior designer. You do need years of experience. And I think it does help if you want to have a project of a certain level to be an associate of the BIID or something similar, so that clients can see that.
So how many years into your experience do you think you got the BIID associate?
Yeah, good question. So I worked at this furniture dealership for 12 years. And then I started up my own business, and I must have been doing that for 3 years, I'd predict. And then I became BIID associate. And so they had to see, I had to talk about the projects that I'd completed. I had to know a lot actually to get it. They don't, it was a panel of like 5 people. They sit there, they ask no questions. It's not easy. You're just there presenting. They don't ask, they ask questions at the end.
Yeah, a lot of technical questions.
It's not lovely like this, where you can kind of explain and you get some like feedback. It's
so they're quite
like a
rigorous.
Interview. Yeah. I mean, they're lovely, but you do need to be able to talk very specifically and technically about drawings, projects, collaborations, suppliers, who, how, where, what, why, when, process, timelines. So it does give clients
so you would say if you did not have a formal qualification, you probably need at least 3 years experience and just some sound knowledge to go to BIID and get this kind of seal of approval, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it depends if people have had experience, because my experience was in a furniture dealership. If they've worked in an interior design studio for 5 years and then they set up on their own, then all of these things are kind of fluid and flexible. It really does depend. I wasn't like doing true experience in interior design before the BIID interview, because it was a furniture dealership. So it does depend, but they're very open, and you can read all about it on their website, and you can see what it is you need to present. And then if you feel comfortable and confident at that point, then that's when you should go in for that. And I would recommend that. But I still got projects before that without it, just enabled, like if you're trying to grow and get more, like there's a project can go from kind of soft furnishings, choosing a rug and some cushions, and then some curtains, and then you're really going to start to renovate, collaborate with other professionals. Then you need to be able to answer those questions from the BIID.
But do you think you've got actually, did you have any sort of clients from BIID or not? It's just a seal of approval, right?
I never.
Badge.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is. It's just a badge.
Yeah.
I thought that I might actually. I thought that it might kind of be like that, but quite honestly.
And are you involved regularly with them or their events, or like how is that?
I've been to a few, and they recently asked me for actually like an interview questioning on when to start up your own practice. So that was just this year. And so I've had some engagement from them with that, but I've never, and I have attended a few events, not for a couple of years because of COVID, but previously I did.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant.
It's good for networking, you'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, within the.
It is, and their emails are brilliant. You know, I also, when I see that other suppliers are approved by them, I instantly know that they've been through the process, and I would be recommending them. Usually suppliers how I select suppliers for my clients is that I like to have used them in my own home. But when they've got the BIID badge, I will kind of bypass that part because I know, that they've been through. I do.
Okay, that's an interesting part, yeah, because finding good suppliers is always tricky, and you might like them, but perhaps they might not be up to the standards that are
and
required.
one time actually I used it. I was looking for a sauna, and I didn't really know where to go for a residential, really gorgeous sauna. And then I was looking online, and then one came up that was BIID approved, and I then engaged with them, purchased it from them, knew that they would know the specification, trusted it, and purchased it. So I have literally done that. And sometimes they have suppliers that aren't so standard, I find. So that's useful, and that's usually what they put on their newsletters as well.
More niche suppliers.
Yeah, more niche.
That you wouldn't use regularly on all projects, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so talking a little bit about your design and your design style. Have you always felt confident in your style? Do you think that you've taken a number of years to sort of refine your style? How do you see that? Do you classify it? Can you classify your style in any particular way? Has it changed over time?
But not much, to be honest.
Not much.
Actually, it has developed for sure. But the furniture dealership that I worked for from 1999 were the largest Knoll dealer in Europe, and still my home is full of the sofa. Yeah, it's Knoll. This is Knoll. So much, and I really kind of fell in love with the stories and the history, and how I went to the factories at Knoll and saw how the marble is cut and polished and 6 layers of lacquer, and how you're buying the quality, and the license hasn't altered since the products were designed in the 30s and 40s and 50s, and every decade, how Knoll is an umbrella company, and then the designers within it have grown, and how they met in Bauhaus, and the kind of top 5 big designers of Knoll are the same ones for the past 80 years. And I just felt as though they were incredible collections, award-winning over the years. The specifications are super vast, but they're still limited. So because it's the license, but for example, the tulip table has 21 different top types with 3 different bases. The top shapes, there's about 7 different sizes, but you can really play around with that. And
so your style is very much Knoll heritage influenced,
yes, definitely. And then from that basis, the other brands around that I learned from the furniture dealership, B&B Italia, Vitra, Carl Hansen, Fritz Hansen, very much from the kind of iconic design classic set. So that I keep as my base layers, and these sofas with like 300 fabrics and 76 configurations for some of them. They're so, you can fit them into so many different sizes and spaces, and they're super comfortable and well made. So I really do kind of keep to that mainly. And it's developed though in more of a kind of eclectic luxury way, that I pull in accent colors from a muted color palette. I like, so to put it, another aspect of that is when I first talk to a client, or when I'm introduced to a client, I'm always asking questions. It's all about the questions, and what colors make, how do they want to feel? Really important. What do they want to use the space for? So for myself, I'm my own client. So then in this space, how I want to feel stimulated. I like to feel relaxed. also, and that's the comfort of the fabric on the sofa, for example, and how neutral it is. But this is quite a fun apartment. I want to feel uplifted. So then for me, that would be for the balance to have pops of color, but I wouldn't use primary colors. It isn't where I enjoy what I enjoy looking at. So then I kind of set out a third texture, like in marble, a third plane, which would be the floor and the walls and the ceiling, and a third pattern, which would then be the art and the rugs. And that's the kind of aesthetic that for me, I enjoy. And when I'm talking with a client, I kind of pull out those details and information, listen really intently, ask questions about color, texture, feelings, and then I kind of create a model of what balance they're going to enjoy. And then that's how I kind of start my vision from that. But my own style is from the kind of iconic design classic way, but then layers of interest with color, pattern, shapes, texture, and really and there's a kind of mathematical thing about that, a third, but then it just really gets down to the natural eye and feeling as though that makes it feel stylish to me. I like things to be kind of stylish and interesting.
So to ask you to that extent, do clients come to you nowadays because they like and what they see in terms of your style, or sometimes I guess you could have clients saying, "Oh, I heard you're really good interior designer," but then they would have a completely different style than yours. So they would like you to work for them, but maybe their style does not.
No, I don't do that.
Yeah.
When I first started out, I was a real yes person. And actually I had to go to a life coach to say no. I really struggled with how to position the word no. I have children, I could quite easily say no to them. However, I just really struggled with it. And I was asked to do styles, not really out. People shouldn't ever go to an interior designer that the styles are mismatched. That makes no sense. But some people did want the help with good pricing on well, that would still be within my style. Some people did were on the edges, let's say, of my style, but wanted a local person to help and be on hand to be their designer. I was saying yes. I learned to say no, and how I would use the language for that would be to say, we're not a good match. I mean, it's not difficult to say. It just took me ages to learn it. And it's best for you and it's best for me if we don't carry on with this, because that's not going to be the best way to work. Since that, it's been a kind of more enjoyable journey of only taking on clients where I do feel I can really enhance their home. It can be sometimes if people just need a few pieces, obviously that's different, but that I pride myself on giving a tailored service, a personal service, and a journey. We're usually together 4 to 6 months. I'm with a client now that it will be 18 months. It's already been 6 months. And these kind of relationships are really important to enjoy on both sides. So when you're dedicating yourself and committing to that, as are they, you have to really have a synergy on the style. And
yes, because I hear a lot of conflicting advice here, and sometimes if you go through the academic route, a lot of the tutors would say, well, at the beginning, you need to be able to do everything, and if you take on clients and maybe adjust to their sort of and be led by what they like. So if someone wants minimalist style, then you should do minimalist, and if someone wants traditional British countryside style, then should go that way. So, and there are very, very different styles, right? So
Yeah, I don't agree
must
with
be
that
so
really. I mean,
vast, even in terms of suppliers, because suppliers also
yeah,
focus on particular styles.
yeah.
So,
I would say my style is like in a bit of a box frame, really, and I don't. There's still enough. I think that my style is kind of quite commercial. It must be. I'm super busy, so enough people that like this kind of style. I work with 100 suppliers. So if you then multiply that into British traditional, minimalist, super Italian, like obviously the huge variety, I'd say my style is mid-century is definitely part of it, but then the colourful eclectic part and then the luxury part, I'd say I'm kind of part of all of that. But then there's so many more. You could start, and if you're working for a big company, that's completely different. But I would say my advice would definitely be to have a broad yet set style. Suppliers you need a relationship with. You want to be pulling in favors. You want to be able to talk with your clients honestly about how you can enhance that home and their environment. So I'm close with lots of suppliers, and it's a variety with taps and bathroom sanitary ware and rugs and lamps and all of that. I've got still lots of suppliers within that, but I like to communicate with them regularly. And you can't do that. How are you going to get the procurement power to get good pricing for your clients if you're spread so broadly on it? So what I'm saying is it's not only the style aesthetic that is important, it's also
the relationship
the relationships with your clients and your relationships with suppliers, so that you're
and 100 seems like quite a broad range of suppliers to me, right?
I think so. I think, well, it's definitely enough. It seems to sit at that level because I can see from the software that I use and all of the people that I pay. But then if you think of rugs, I've probably got 6 or 7 strong suppliers, furniture, 15, bespoke, 10, lamps and lighting, 12 suppliers. Once you kind of put it into the categories of that, builders, trades, accessories, beds.
Yeah, it adds up quickly. Yes.
Yeah. So if all those areas, if you've just got 10 or 12 that you work with closely, I can say now that we work on between kind of 8 to 20 projects a year. There's myself plus 3 girls. And we engage with 100 suppliers on a regular enough basis to be able to say, we really need this product in quickly. We need special prices on this. We need samples biked over to us. And that's how clients can kind of feel special, because they are, by having these strong relationships. But if you go broad on everything, how are you going to be able to really
exactly? And then there's the question of budget, right, as well. Like, do you work with some more affordable suppliers and some affordable ones, right?
Yeah, so we're mid to high, which super high. I know a few suppliers where they can go from high to super high. For example, like silk painted, hand painted and embroidered silk wallpaper.
Yes, like
that you can have just plain silk, or you can go to like crazy beautiful or embroidered. So then some suppliers we work with a lot can go to super high, but to be honest, my client base isn't really that. I tend to work with like hard-working people who really appreciate the value of the hand holding in the assistance and the energy that designers can bring to get a project over the line. And so my client base isn't kind of people with multiple properties and yachts.
It's more ultra wealthy.
So that's not the supplier. So we don't have that really top section, apart from a few suppliers that do that. And we don't engage with low suppliers because it actually would cost people the amount of communication that it takes to do the work. It's just as costly as getting good value from a mid-range supplier. Mm-hmm. So we get discount that we share with our clients. Mm-hmm. And if we're then charging for hourly rates, if you work with low suppliers, the hourly rate just increases because they're a nightmare. Often they're a nightmare. And that's from experience. Like, we have tried to do that, but it's just as costly because they don't come on time and they send the wrong thing.
So then, I guess because you're mentioning costing, I think some of the questions that we've had is actually really about your pricing and how do you do that? I know the industry has various ways of pricing.
Yeah, that's right. And it took me quite a while to get this, actually.
Do you keep to one type of pricing, like
no.
chargeable hours, or?
No, I don't think you could, because clients, my style is pretty set, but my offerings are vast. And I feel as though that's an important way to have a wider net of a client base so that you can, it's also really enjoyable. So we do hourly of more design dilemmas. So the client has gone about, they're renovating, and they're stressed out. They don't know what floor is going to be right. Do they change floor from the kitchen into the conservatory, and does the hallway have to be the same flooring, and what thickness, what color, what's going to be durable, what patterns and shapes and sizes and materials, and all of these variety of questions that's overwhelming to a client. And those questions can go from flooring to wall decorations to curtains and lining and all the vast specifications, let alone the furniture, for example. So people come to us, myself and Molly, who's my design partner, and they have a variety of questions, and it's an hourly rate. And we sit down, I can go through like 55 questions in an hour or something. And if they're encouraged to become really prepared, then they get a lot of value from that. And they're super grateful for the decision. So that's one thing that we do.
So that's just consultation only without actually getting involved, so just advice?
Yeah, it can be, literally. They come in and see us for an hour, and then they continue, because some people might be working from home, or they've got a couple of kids and they just are renovating, but they really want to do it themselves, but they don't want to make mistakes. So they come for a couple of hours, and then 2 months later, they come back for a couple of hours, and it's just question answering. And then that same.
So at this point, do you put them in touch with suppliers? Because I guess like they'll say, oh, where shall I get this? Yeah.
Can be. But it might be that they want to go to their local. We're very open with that, and we do introduce trusted suppliers at that point. Yes.
Yeah.
We like to help our clients, regardless of like what they are spending with us, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, we would.
But then do they take advantage of your discounted rate or not if they go directly to the supplier you compare them to?
No, they don't. They don't have the advantage of that then. And that kind of depends on a variety of things as well. Sometimes that just does depend. But sometimes they are kind of keen to go to John Lewis and get their own stuff. So they're kind of choosing a colour or a material. So we do hourly rates for design dilemmas, and then also an hourly rate for a consultation. And then we can do a block of hourly rates. Some people, we might get like a kind of quirky inquiry that isn't so normal. And then I might suggest that we do a block of 10 hours together for me to get to know the client and the client to get to know me, to make sure that we're going to be aligned in our goals to fulfill that brief. So I've had that a few times where, for example, they really loved art. Displaying art isn't my forte. However, I can research how to put that art in homes like that. So I offered a block of 10 hours to kind of invest in the time to research, and then I research and then we talk, and then I research and then we talk. And then at that point, we can then do another 10 hours until we kind of go for a big fee. So it's hourly, a block of hours, and we can do that with a day rate as well. And then other ways that we do the actual fee is that we do a proposal for a fixed amount of money. So let's say somebody's got 50 grand to spend on furniture for their living space and dining space. Then I might suggest a fixed fee in a proposal. I then list out how many items they need, how many revisions they'll receive at this amount of money. Then if they need more revisions, often they don't, because we're listening and we're ensuring that what we are suggesting is appropriate. Then they have to pay more money for the hours for extra revisions. So my proposal actually is really thorough. It's from a template that we use that I was helped with from the BIID in terms of reading their guidelines about that. And what was actually really helpful for me at that point was creating a proposal that had boundaries around what it was that it was included in the proposal. So the design services, so this furniture specification, I have a page on the rooms, lounge, hallway, kitchen. I then have a page on the items, pendant light, console, storage, sofa. And then I have a page on how many revisions per item are included.
All right, so you do like a mood board for each room, let's say, with imagery?
Well, so then it depends what people need. So before a meeting, before consultation, I send them my design services brochure. Within that brochure highlights what services are available from NW3 Interiors, which include mood boards, visuals, floor plans, pricing. Oh, there's loads more, elevations, technical drawings, etc. So then when we have that consultation, we are then discussing how some people have just got way more experience than others. So some people need a walkthrough and a visual. Other people are really happy with a brochure and a piece of fabric. So I don't need to charge them for my time to create the visual and the walkthrough. If they're happy for me to say, here's a link on the Knoll website, here's a brochure from Knoll, we'll go to the showroom, you'll sit on the sofa, here's the different fabrics, and then in your home, we're going to look at that fabric together. I'll do the floor plan, and we've just sat on it, so we know that that's going to fit. So it's really initially offering what it is you're capable of. And I have a skill set in furniture specifications, particularly. I then outsource SketchUp, visuals. So then that's a kind of chargeable rate. I then listen to what the client needs for them to understand the vision. And that client can be anywhere on a scale, from needing loads of help with that, which is fine, more money, or needing not much at all. And then I create a proposal that encompasses the services that they need, for the project that they've got, and that proposal has boundaries around what it is they get.
Yeah. Yes, because I guess one of the problems you can run into if you have a more picky client, let's say,
Yeah.
like, how many revisions do you go to, and what if
Yeah.
they don't like anything that you've chosen first time around?
Yeah.
Sometimes you go over and over it.
Yeah. So that can
yeah.
happen. And how many revisions you offer, I think that 2 minimum.
Mm-hmm.
We offer 3 or 4 sometimes, but I then can be a bit generous to make sure, if I feel as though it's a big project, and
So depending on the client,
go over that, if they really do kind of need that.
Mm-hmm.
But quite often, if you're really listening, they shouldn't need more revisions than that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say though that how I kind of came to those numbers
Mm-hmm.
in the boundaries that I do is from analysing what I've been doing on projects.
Mm-hmm.
And that also comes into my design proposal of
Mm-hmm.
keeping a timeline of how much time it takes me to create. So let's say that a client wants me to do their master bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
and they want everything new, from walls to lighting, from wardrobe to a bed, a headboard, bed dressings, a rug, dressing table, so a full scheme, let's say. Then I will look back over how long it takes me to create it in my mind for the vision, and then what design skills are needed and how many hours are likely. And that's how I come to the fixed rate on the design proposal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of maths, really.
Right.
When you're working on something, you need to be writing down how much time you're spending on it, so that when the next client asks you for something similar, you can refer to a real life situation. Yeah. And then that client feels comfortable and confident in that fee, because you will sit there and say, well, I need 3 hours of really focused design time. I then need 5 hours on a visual to complete that. I need, you can justify your time, because there's a variety of showroom, samples, communication, collection, negotiation, pricing, all of these host of skills that we look on to create that project. You then look through, calculate, and then execute that in a price. So that's a fixed price.
I'm just going to interrupt you because we have some questions live. So Virginia is asking, do you always do the questionnaire in person with your client, or do you give it to them to fill it up at home, or like fill it in at home? Or,
okay, yeah,
like little details like that. Yeah,
I do. I know that is a thing, doing a questionnaire. Mm-hmm. When we receive the initial inquiry, we ask what rooms, how much space, what they're looking for. We then have a free consultation on the phone. Mm-hmm. We then gather information from that. I then charge for a consultation, and within that consultation, I go prepared with options of, do you like this style? Do you like that? I ask them about the feeling, and actually a questionnaire, you can't really gauge their feeling, their vibe, their priorities.
So you do actually meet in person?
Yeah, I do.
COVID permitting, yeah.
Yeah, and I did do it online with COVID like that, and work. Yeah, it wasn't as easy with that. We kind of diversified in COVID.
But you do show them imagery of your past project, or different styles?
Past project also,
different
and I
options.
think there's a lot of, and people choose a home due to the architecture of it. You don't usually meet a client that hates their home. So then I take images of other homes which are like the home that they have.
Yeah.
So you need to do a bit of preparation. You need to get like an interview, that kind of consultation. They're interviewing you, and you're trying to give them the confidence that you've got an inkling of what it is of how they would love to live. So you need to go to that consultation that you're being paid for from a stance of, I'm trying to impress you. So then you go prepared with information that hopefully they're going to like.
So you don't rely on just like a cold sort of questionnaire.
No, I don't say,
online.
How do you like to live in your lounge? Because they're really busy people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like it's not enough effort, actually.
Yeah.
The energy, like, where's the energy from you?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you give and offer that energy, because you're fully prepared for the meeting, you then get the best energy back, and then you create a proposal that's really accurate and they can't say no to, because you've really understood them, because you're sat there face to face with them and you've seen their home and you've asked a lot and you've listened a lot. So it seems to be a pretty kind of higher ratio of success, I think, than a long questionnaire.
Yeah. Do you have any particular tough questions that you would ask, like, or more complex questions that clients need to answer?
Sometimes people don't know, let's say, what colours help you relax.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of go, oh, not sure really. So you say, okay, when you go to travel and you've been working hard, what kind of hotel is your favourite go-to? When you visit a hotel, what do you like to do there? When you enter a space in a hotel, because they're always trying to kind of be aspirational.
Right.
So hotels are a good one. When you go out to eat, what restaurants do you like? When you go to a spa, and it's that kind of.
Okay, so then you can really make a mental image of their.
Yeah. And then you write down those hotels and you look them up and you understand. And so I don't think that that's a difficult question, but some clients do struggle with answering that. So then you need to be prepared with ways to enable them to visualize what it is you're asking them. And the question that they struggle with as well is budget. And I still haven't got to the bottom of it, whether people genuinely don't want to tell me in case they don't have the money, or they don't want to tell me in case I'm going to like
take all the money.
Or like, I don't know what it is, but some people, a lot, I would say 60% struggle with answering what budget have you got for this project. So then it's a matter of saying, for a sofa, would you be comfortable with spending £3,000, £7,000? Did you really want to go to something super high end and have £10,000 to £15,000? And so you need to be able to put boundaries around the information that you're trying to get back. And on a questionnaire, they just leave things out. We did do a questionnaire.
Yeah.
But it's a more simplified one.
I'm just conscious of the time because we've only got 10
minutes. Has it gone?
So I had so many more other questions to ask you, but one other thing that's you mentioned was that you outsource SketchUp, and I think like a lot of the students that I actually am engaged with on a regular basis, like we're also confused because there are so many softwares out there. Which one do you learn first? Which one is the most useful? Which one's the most practical? How do you
I'm really not as equipped to answer this in such a full way because I do outsource. Molly, my other design partner, she is learning SketchUp, so I know that's good. I've got an amazing lady who does the visuals with 3D Lightbox, I think it's called. And that seems to be amazing. And I pay her per hour.
CGI, right?
Yes, I think it is. And that I pay per hour, and she's brilliant with that. So I do outsource that. I think like being the creative, the business part, the relationship negotiation, accounts, which I have to do, like that's enough of a skill set. Then those other technical parts, I understand elevations, technical drawings, but I don't do those myself either. Molly has got a better skill set than me with that, but we still outsource furthermore. Camilla, my design assistant, who's brilliant, is learning those too with SketchUp.
So you do mention SketchUp a lot, so I guess that might be.
I think that's one that's a good all-rounder.
Yes.
But I don't think it covers everything, especially not in the visuals as much. Like some clients can visualize it themselves. I'm with a client at the moment that can't and is really wanting a completely full interior design scheme and services. So that's where I'm using Juliana to do the visuals for that. So it depends what people want to do and enjoy. And I see design as more kind of client-based relationships.
And I guess if you say to the client, okay, I will need to outsource this if you require all the technical drawings, then that's an extra cost. So maybe that.
But I've done that from the outset. That's in the initial consultation. That's really started from my initial design services where I've got a kind of tick list and a different kind of package base. Do you just want layout, mood board, meetings, pricing? Then there's another column where they can have extra visuals. And then there's another one with the walkthrough. And then I can work out the pricing depending on how many hours for how many rooms that would be. And actually, Anca, I just wanted to finish off with the pricing from before. Do you mind? Just think it's important.
No, sure.
Thank you. So there was the hourly, and then there was the kind of package pricing with a fixed fee for a design proposal. And then there's a last section where I take a percentage of the spend on renovations.
Okay.
So then I don't do the fixed and I don't do hourly. We start on hourly with consultations to make sure that I'm the right person. And then we
go straight to the percentage. And
then I do a kind of monthly, which really helps. So then I'm working on a big project. I dedicate a certain amount of hours per month. And then it's a percentage of the budget of the spend, and that's paid to me monthly. They can have a kind of get out clause if they need to within a month's, on either side, a month's contractual finish. So then, and that is actually in the BIID, there's an interior design, bright yellow contract. Have you ever seen it? And it's a full 20-page document and you write down everything about what you're doing. And I use that contract for the big renovations and it's really useful. It means that you get a steady income and it means that you're dedicated to that project for that percentage of that spend. And if the spend changes, then that's within the contract too. So it's much more kind of high level. I'm doing the electrics, the circuits, collaborating with builder meetings. And it's every detail of the interior design, including almost interior architecture with kind of external paint colors, internal window colors, and really a full scheme. And that's much more involved, bigger money, and it's a monthly thing, which helps with the kind of consistency of income. So I just wanted to highlight that. And that is much more experience to get to that point. And it's only now that I've really got to that point of being able to do these types of projects.
And then how about your relationship with architects, builders? do you recommend builders on particular projects, or do people already have their own builders and you step in later? Like,
either,
what is
either, and I like to meet them. Either, and it's really important. And my advice with that kind of relationship, I always try and meet them first. I really like to like them. I would turn down a project if the vibe wasn't right with them, because you have to spend so much time. And then I go to the builder and explain that I'm a really solutions-based person, and they like that. I think some builders or architects feel as though designers can be like slow things down and not be. I try and make out that I'm really easy to get along with. We're like here for the client. We're going to make sure this is successful for the client to enjoy their home. And if any issues arise, which they do, I'm very solutions based.
Right.
So I'm always looking at options of how to move forward rather than like crying about what's happened. Right. And they seem to like that.
Okay, and can I ask you, in terms of your deal flow, in terms of getting new clients, or how do you go about that? I know now you've got vast experience, having worked for so long, but
but obviously
where do most of your clients come from? And if you were going to start out now, how would you go about finding clients?
Sure. So I would say, design your own home. It basically comes to a bit of investment, really. You need to have, I borrowed a bit of money from my mum, to be honest. And I then designed my own space. And I advertised. I did like a local magazine. This local magazine was sent out to high-end properties in my area, and I invested in my own home design, and then I put an offer out in a magazine to design other people's spaces. Because of the experience of the furniture dealership, I talked to Noel about becoming my own dealer. They were very open to that, because I was an expert in I took so much interest in the design of Noel. I then was a dealer in that and could offer clients discount on Noel furniture, which helped me. And then I kind of forged those relationships, invested in myself, got reviews, pushed that out onto House, which is a good platform for gaining reviews from other people. I offered to do a few friends' homes. They left a review on House. I uploaded those photos, took my time to kind of, it's a circle of, an inquiry comes in, I offered a good price, I executed it well, I took photos, got the reviews, pushed out the reviews, invested in more inquiries by advertising.
Did you do your friends' homes for free, or did you charge them anything?
No, it wasn't for free, but it was like really cheap. Yeah, and it was only a few of those. I think it was discounted. Just trying to think of my first clients. I did get a really good first client from the advert. So then, and talking locally, and that was another kind of part of my initial business plan, which I did, which helped with goals. So first of all, I set out a business plan that I was going to engage with local people. These were my mantras of what I was going to say. So when I met somebody in a local cafe, I was actually a furniture consultant initially. I had a card, I had a website, and I would say, I'm helping people enhance their home by taking the stress out of choosing furniture. So then I'd kind of push out what my goal was of how I was going to help and like enrich their life and remove stress from their life. And then I'd do that at a good price. And it just kind of, and then I'd advertise that fact. And then with a bit of an investment that way and a bit of like hard work and dedication in other ways, it grew. And that's still my mantra now, really. I kind of divide my time into some networking. We don't advertise as much. It's more word of mouth, really. We do more things like this because it's really enjoyable. And like the BIID thing that I mentioned initially. So it's a variety, and it's kind of knowing what that variety is, and then every day ticking out your targets,
right,
your goals, and then so what you want, how you're going to do it, and then kind of almost daily working on everything to try and push out the good to get in the clients.
right. I'm just conscious of the time. I think our conversation has been very enjoyable. I wanted to perhaps ask you, I had so many other questions, but few things about your life, and maybe how do you balance your life as an interior designer with your personal life, and perhaps like what the title of our webinar was today, how does a day look like in your life as an interior designer?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I kind of apply maths to that in terms of, and I kind of had to really, because I have a family, having the balance of what it is I do, like where are your priorities? So I allocated what my priorities were. So the children come first, for example. What it was I wanted for them to be able to have. So for example, I wanted to be home for when they got back from school and to be able for them to have friends over. So then that was a priority within that. And then you have to allocate and then be strict and have boundaries for yourself. So obviously clients come high up on the list. How do I ensure that they're receiving my dedication and communication? And then the balance of everything else that falls within that, with like branding and advertising and accounts, and you have to allocate your time appropriately to your priorities and then cut that off so that you're putting a boundary around it so you don't get pulled too far outside of what it is is the right amount of time for that task. And I was working weekends too sometimes, like evenings, for a long time, until I kind of pulled in more help. If you start your own business, it's a slog. You have to just keep at it and dedicate your time.
And what percentage would you say like you dedicate to
I know this,
the creative part versus the business,
so
business
because
part?
I like write down mainly what it is I'm doing, it's a third creative, and then it's like 65% brand accounts, placing orders, chasing deliveries, communication with suppliers, marketing. And then actually a big turning point was investing in marketing elsewhere. So like having an assistant was a big deal. That was really worth it. That assistant then grew to be my design partner. Brilliant. Bringing in her own, managing her own clients. Amazing. So then I got a new assistant, and then outsourcing the marketing. So it took some time to build up to that and invest in that. But then when I did, you just get more in return. It's an interesting thing. I felt like it was just a cost, but then actually the cost becomes
compounded, really.
When they learn, and then you need to make sure that the relationship is great so that they're the right person, and then they really enjoy working with you, and then that cost goes the other way, and then they're making money for the business, and the marketing that I outsourced then becomes fruitful because you get more inquiries because you've been paying for the marketing. It sounds obvious, but it took me years to kind of realize that. And advertising, you can just smash loads of money and not get it back. So you have to test and see and put out a small amount and But then actually when that does get return and get sales in, it's really advantageous.
Right. I think I've got one last question from the audience. How do you find your assistants, and what kind of questions are important for you when you interview them? What's
well, they seem to, do you know, all I can say is vibe.
Yes.
It's about the person. Like, we work from my own spaces. We're together a lot. Often I'm fun, sometimes I'm not. So, you know, how are they gonna deal with clients and people, and what's the energy and how like lovely they are? And it's just a matter of, I could ask what projects they've done, and obviously that's important. They're not going to sit in front of me if I didn't feel as though they had a standard of work. That's a no-brainer. It's really how much I like them.
Yeah, so it's just chemistry, really.
Yes.
I think in a small team it's very important that, and I think if you're a design inclined person, I think that's you're much more in tune with that, and
yeah, exactly.
To you, right?
Yeah. And actually, most of the people that I've employed started off offering an internship first, or like to work for free, to be honest, because I felt as though I can't afford this. It was like a big step. So then they come and offer just to do a day or two for nothing, and then I get to know them, and then after a month or two I feel more comfortable and they've proven their value, and then I pay them for a day or two, and then they like end up, and we're all like a family. And they get paid well and everyone's happy. But I must say that is actually how it initially starts.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Carly, for sharing
I hope
all
it's helpful.
knowledge. So. I must say you have a beautiful flat behind you there. And as you mentioned at the beginning, you've had an open house, right? To show around your neighbors, right? And I guess it's a great marketing tool.
Yeah, and marketing's important like that, but I also just like to, I mean, show off is a strong word, but I like to share techniques and ways of creating design for us all. Like, let's just give love, and if you give design, then if you can enjoy your home more, then I'm just happy for that.
So I think one thing that we can leave with is actually create the best showroom from your house, and perhaps
it does help.
Strong,
and offer, like, always be a person that offers and giving, and then people engage with that and appreciate it, and then offer back, I suppose. That's my motto.
Right. We have Mary saying, thank you for being so generous with your knowledge. I first discovered you on Living Etc. house tours. Beautiful work. Thanks, that's Mary. So nice.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it.
Yes, and wonderful from Anna. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you so much, Carly, for your generosity. And I really wish you all the success. I think your style is amazing.
Everybody else too.
Yeah, and hope we'll be in touch again.
Enjoy this amazing industry.
Thank you so much, Carly.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.